This is my fancy new Trackhawk. And sure, she's got a few issues. A few probably isn't the best descriptor in this scenario. But hey, it ain't all bad news. Yeah, there we go. Not only does this thing still run, but it kind of, sort of even drives. Plus, we were able to buy this thing for like 70 grand, less than it costs new, so we got a smoking deal on it. I think. Last time we stripped out all the bodywork, we jettisoned all the damaged suspension, the interior. Now is when the hard work begins. We gotta fix all this structural damage so we can actually start to rebuild this truck. Now, the passenger frame rail, straight as an arrow. This one, not so much. It kind of points downwards, and that is a problem. Now, traditionally, we just toss this thing on the frame machine, get the tugging on it a little bit, it should be good as new. But being that this one's damaged back behind the subframe, I don't think that's the wisest of ideas. So instead of repairing this frame rail, we're gonna replace it. Now we just have to figure out how to do that. The frame rail, as best I can tell at least, is only damaged from right there forward. So can we replace just that section, or do we have to replace the entire frame rail assembly that stretches all the way back under the floorboard? Realistically, I think the only way we're gonna figure out what we need to do here is to get cutting on it and see what happens. But I don't think we're gonna be able to do that too well with this big, beautiful American V8 in the way. Now, as cool as it would have been to tackle all this stuff while not having to pull the drivetrain out of the car, you know, especially considering that this is that one project that we're not gonna go crazy on, which we'll see how that holds up. It's just gonna be easier if we drop the whole thing out. That way we'll have access to the inside of this frame rail. We're not working around the engine while trying to, you know, fix up our chassis.
How do you feel lying to yourself?
What do you mean?
About projects, you know, like, yeah, I'm gonna keep it stock, I ain't gonna go crazy, and...
I never said stock. I'm just saying that we're not gonna turn this into some, you know, 3-month-long crazy engine build. Just wanna get this thing on the road and get it running.
Jet.
Why you gotta do me like this, man? You really put me in a tough spot here. No, we're not going crazy with this one. There might be, you know, a thing or two planned for. Either way, the engine is basically ready to come out. I do have to take a second and just acknowledge how easy Jeep has made this whole deal to work on. The whole front end comes off, everything's super accessible, and even the underside, being all-wheel drive, it took, I don't know, 10 minutes to prep for removal. I mean, we shouldn't be shocked, right? We've had a lot of, you know, really badly wrecked stuff here, and I don't think that I've ever seen an engine move side to side when you're hitting a subframe bolt. We're off. This is the first time I've pulled a Trackhawk engine, so I wouldn't be surprised if we forgot something, but I don't know, think we're good. Now we have no front end on this. The engine transmission, that's about to come out, and a lot of weight in the back. I think it's fine. Look good to you, Fernando?
I don't think she's going anywhere.
The famous last words, right?
Did you forget something?
No, I know this looks weird at, you know, first glance, but the drive shaft, don't want to pull it all the way off. I want to leave the rear half as assembled as we can. So we've had to, you know, yank it out of the way of the transmission that it's now trying to slide past. There's actually one piece of wiring there that we seem to have forgot as well. I assumed, very wrongfully, that this just went up into the engine harness. No, it goes straight into the floor of the car. Everything else looks pretty much just standard issue Mopar. We are clear all the way around, as far as I can tell. Let's take it up and see how it goes. All right, okay, now seeing it like this is huge compared to the cars, the Chargers, and whatnot. Wow. Not only does this thing sit halfway up my torso, but the transmission, it's long compared to the rear-wheel drive versions. I guess for once we can kind of just go tuck this thing away. We'll try our best not to mess with it. You know, no clue how successful that'll actually be, but hey, we'll try. Now we can get the real scope of the damage back here. And I mean, it's not anything we weren't expecting. It's not like it gets much worse. Now we can just see it all. This, of course, is where we're thinking the damage ends, and it does go a hair further back than that, but not much. Not enough to make a real difference in what we're about to do here. You can see how badly it's creased there, but it is still in front of the strut tower, which is by far the most important part here, I think. If it's at all possible, I would love to leave this strut tower in place. It does have a little bit of damage. That's just a lip that's bent down. This is a bracket that spot welds onto the back side of it that I believe supports the airbox. This is another bracket, I believe, for the same thing. We can replace all that, but if we can leave this where it sits, it saves us a lot of trouble. So this is our frame rail horn. It's fairly light, it's hollow. It really wouldn't be difficult to replace if we only had to replace this. But you look further into the frame rail, and then you can see why this might become a challenge. Anytime you got something important that's bolted to your frame rail, like say, I don't know, a subframe that holds your entire engine, you're gonna have support in the frame rail, and that's what you're seeing there. And I didn't realize that that's what these were for before, but it looks like that structure piece is just slid inside of the frame rail and they're welded in from the side and the top. Now we can't fix this thing anywhere in the middle of one of those. We gotta, you know, this is probably not the right way to do this. We gotta find somewhere that's hollow just like that front piece of the frame we just ripped off. I was originally wanting to cut it about here, but the more we look into this, I think back here in the middle of the strut tower, that might be the ticket. We do have this kind of overlaid section of metal on top of the frame rail we can use as an alignment point, and there shouldn't, at least I don't think, be any kind of internal support in there. And then there's the added bonus that the rear half of the strut tower, that's going to stay on the old frame rail, but the front section of the strut tower will attach this to our new frame rail that we weld on, and that'll just be one more point that'll help fuse everything together and keep it, you know, strong. Now, of course, we're not just going to go cutting back there from the jump. We're going to cut it section by section, little by little, to make sure we don't run into anything that we don't like. We're good like all the way through there. That's basically all the damaged portion of the frame rail off. You can see it's still a little wonky there. It's kind of off to the side. I think that'll fix itself once we go back a couple more inches. Now on the inside of this, you can see there's some kind of structure. What is it? 8 inches in there. So we want to keep this repair in front of that, which gives us, I don't know, something right about there to work with. Dead in the center of this arch in the strut tower. Look off to you?
Yeah.
You don't sound confident. I think it's off. I guess I don't sound confident either. The strut tower should be off. So we've already decided that we're gonna go pretty much right in the middle of the strut tower arch on this inside part of the frame rail. But for now, we're gonna cut it way up here just to give us some more room to work with in case, you know, plans change. Guess it was off, huh? We'll leave that there for now. On the outside, though, I had originally said that I wanted to avoid that inner structure piece because I thought it would complicate things. I think if we're really careful about it and we just remove this outer skin of the frame rail without cutting into that intersection and do it, say, right at this seam, we should be able to use that intersection as kind of a backing plate to strengthen the new piece we're going to put on. Sound a good plan?
Huh?
Good plan?
What?
It's a good plan.
What?
It's a good idea.
What?
Well, we accomplished what we set out to do. It does sound like great progress and everything, but taking stuff apart, that's the easy portion of this whole deal. I actually consider myself quite good at taking stuff apart, intentionally or unintentionally. Now we have to put it all back together, and this is where things tend to just...
This is when we call for help, right?
There is no help coming this time.
Are you sure about
that?
that?
No help coming. Now the only thing standing in between us and a fixed up Trackhawk, other than, of course, knowledge, skill, professional help, and mechanical ability, are parts. Luckily, though, 99.9% of what we need, that's the wrong side of the chain.
I think I
almost had it there. You know what? We're just gonna 99.9% of what we need just showed up. Trust me, I know it might seem excessive to buy another Jeep to fix the Jeep that we already bought, but after doing a little bit of number crunching, this turned out to be by far the most cost-effective option to get ours back on the road. Even with a bit of a hookup from our friends down at Steve White Motors, getting everything we need from the dealer was gonna run us like $20,000-ish. That's not gonna work. So instead, we bought this thing for the same $20,000. First thing we did once we got it back to the shop, ripped the engine and the transmission out of it and recouped half of our money. So now we only have $10,000 wrapped up in this Jeep, which is not a Trackhawk, it's an SRT8, but hey, I think all this stuff's the same. Quite ironically, this chassis might be in better shape than the one we're actually repairing, at least from a structural standpoint. This one got hit back here on the driver rear quarter. The worst part of this whole deal is down here on the lower passenger side. That like rocker area got bashed in. For our purposes, none of that matters. We needed a good front end, we got that. We also needed a complete set of airbags. There's not a single airbag blown in this one. So unless we get into this thing, we get started working on it and find that there's something different, something that's not the same from a Trackhawk to an SRT, I think we have pretty much everything we need. As soon as we saw how bad that Trackhawk was, kind of knew the easiest route was going to be to get a parts car. But the only problem with that whole idea is that it is nearly impossible to find one of these that isn't destroyed in the front end. Not only did the parts car method save us a ton of money in this case, but it's also going to prevent us from getting nickel and dime to death on the back end. When you're coming down the home stretch on a rebuild like this, that's about the time you find out you need all these little parts that you didn't even know existed. Things like these rubber pads on the front bumper, stuff like this little AC line bracket, dumb little parts like this weather strip. None of this costs much money at all. It just almost always results in another 5 trips back to the dealer after you thought you had the car rebuilt. Oh, that always sounds so painful, doesn't it? All right, we're clear, I think. Yes, we're clear. We do have a little bit of damage on this front bumper. They must have smashed something right at the bottom, but I think we're gonna put a front lip on this, just like that widebody kit on the Trackhawk was supposed to come with. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, we definitely gotta get this front plate bracket off of here as well. Can't have that. Well, this is not too bad underneath. One minor difference is the SRTs. They came with fog lights with the Trackhawk. They dished them for cooling purposes, I think. This is gonna get axed, and we're gonna replace it with this, a $20 grill. Oh, don't tell me this is wrong.
Oh, no! No!
I think, yeah, maybe those fog lights are going right back in. All right. We're fine. It's not a different bumper, which is what I was worried about. There's an equivalent piece that's basically a Trackhawk version of this bezel that goes on the back of the bumper, and then we'll be able to put the grill in. So kind of a false alarm, but we'll have to do that later. Jeep has done such a phenomenal job of making it so this whole front assembly could come out as one unit, but given that we have a ton of structural work to do, it probably wouldn't be ideal if there's a giant radiator in our way. There we go. This is definitely a problem for later, but one thing I know for sure that we're gonna have to source is a heat exchanger. Given that the SRT is not supercharged, even though we have a good radiator, fan, AC condenser assembly here, it doesn't have a heat exchanger with it, so that we're gonna need to buy. All right, could be wrong here, usually am, but I think we are, oh no, this time I'm right. We are fully out. I think by leaving this whole assembly kind of bolted together, even though it comes apart like 3 or 4 different pieces, it's gonna give us at least a decent shot of having it all line up when we put it on the Trackhawk. You know, after working on the Trackhawk, it feels weird almost to work on one of these that isn't blown apart in the front end. There's our front diff. This front diff, just like the Trackhawk, is a 370 ratio, but the actual part numbers from Dodge, they're different. I honestly don't have a clue if they're cross compatible, but for all the damage we had in the front of the Trackhawk, the front diff looks like it might have survived, so we may just be able to use that. But for now, we'll stash this one away in this giant pile of parts we're accumulating, you know, just in case. Now, one other area where this SRT is really coming in clutch for us is the suspension. Being that, you know, every single piece of suspension on the Trackhawk was jacked up, blown apart, or just straight missing, what we're gonna do is just rip this entire corner out of here and one big piece. Don't get caught. That way, we can just take this and slide it right into the Trackhawk when the time comes. There's our steering rack, which, unlike the one in the Trackhawk, you cannot see the inside of, though it does remove in just a really awkward way. You have to pull it out the side of the subframe. I can only imagine in like a service scenario, when you're trying to replace one of these with an engine or a front diff in the car, this has to suck. Then there's the final piece of the puzzle, outside of the frame rail, of course. And that is our front subframe. That's not light. No. Now, the fun part, busting out some new tools. And I figured since we're doing, you know, real body shop type activities, we get some real body shop type tools. This is called a tram gauge. Basically, from the 5 minutes of research I've done on YouTube about this thing, the way it works is you can measure from different points on the body, say cross frame rails like this, and you'll get a measurement of exactly how far apart they are on a good chassis. And then when we put everything onto the Trackhawk, we can make sure it all matches. 1,140. A magnet ain't magneting. Anyway. Okay. Anyway, I got the measurement, it's fine. 1,140 millimeters. I presume it should be the exact same here, and it is. So side to side on the subframe bolts, it's actually too short to fit. So what we're gonna do, I guess, is go to this other bolt hole on the front frame rail. 928. Same deal when it's turned the other way. At least we know this chassis is square, not that we thought it wouldn't be. Now, curious to see if the one measurement we can take still checks out on the Trackhawk.
Are you nervous?
Obviously. I mean,
This is not even my car, but I am.
we've been thinking this is straight the whole time, but let's see. We're already set on 1140. We're good. Look, check this out. Straight frickin' in. All right. So at least now we verified, albeit with a $100 tool from Amazon, that this is straight. You guys know how it is here. We're kind of used to winging it and finding what I guess we'll call alternative methods to fixing things once in a while. But this is one time when we really had to be sure that everything's spot on. And after seeing that, I feel at least, I don't know, about 75% more confident in this whole project.
Super close.
Oh, I told Fernando, hey, I'm not gonna hit that bracket right. You know, the one we need for the airbox. Give it a little trim, but you know, we're good. We're
Weight reduction.
Bingo.
Now I do the honors.
Do the honors, my friend. This one's gonna be a bit critical because if we just kind of slash it right there through the strut tower, we're gonna be dangerously close to where we need to tie the new one into the Trackhawk. So we gotta go back further. Fernando, see that hole in the strut tower?
Yep.
Right there? See if you can get a blade through it.
It works?
Like it was meant to. You know what? I think I know why they put that there. Just figured it out. All right, hack straight down there. We'll be golden. Woo. Now, assuming my math is correct here, it's not really math, is it?
No.
Assuming I'm correct here, we unbolt this, and we got ourselves one fine frame rail. We just got to cut off all this extra material we left on it, and she'll be basically ready to stick on the Trackhawk. Now, if drilling out spot wells till you can't see straight and rebuild cars like the SRT or the Trackhawk sounds like a great time to you, then you could probably benefit from the sponsor of today's video, Auto Bid Master. Auto Bid Master is your ticket into the salvage auction without any of the usual BS that goes along with it. You don't need a dealer license, you definitely don't need to own a salvage yard. All you need to do is pick which of their 4 membership options suits you best, sign up, and you're ready to bid. They've got over 15 years of helping the public buy vehicles from the auto auction with no license needed. And they've got top-notch customer service with a multilingual staff. With Auto Bid Master, you've got complete control during the bidding process with your personalized account and worry-free document management and delivery on the back end. They even offer an educational video course to help users navigate online auto auctions. From selecting the right car to bidding and managing risks, the course covers everything from the basics to pro tips. And once you bought something, they offer nationwide and international shipping, all with a transparent calculator. Plus, you can use code ScrapLifeLee at the link down in the description to get $50 off your membership. Put that 50 right into the rebuild fund. Moving back to the task at hand here though, our frame rail is fully cut down. It was significantly more work than I anticipated it to be. That seems to be the case with pretty much everything on this project. But our frame rail is cleaned and essentially ready to go on the Trackhawk. But before we start slapping on all our sustainably sourced, if you will, parts, there is one more thing I think we need to take care of. And for this, we just went straight to the dealer. Primarily because this whole little fender support assembly was only $75. On this particular panel, there's so many little spot welds that we'd have probably spent more than $75 in consumables alone trying to remove it from the SRT. So I figured for this at least, the dealer was the right call. Yeah, I probably shouldn't be surprised at all, but this has taken far longer than I originally anticipated. We have went around the outside and got every little spot weld drilled out, or sanded out in this case, and free. Now the only thing we have left are these ones on the inside, which I actually didn't see. Oh, we're clear. 3.5 hours later, we are clear. Whew. Now with that out of the way, we can say with absolute certainty that there isn't any damage back further on the chassis. It's just this stuff that was up here in the front, and in the grand scheme of things, despite how this might look right now, it's really not as bad as it could have been. This is our inner fender well cover panel. I don't know. I'm sure it has an official name. I do not know what it is. Whatever it's called, that's what butts up against the back of that big panel we just cut off. Now, originally, I did think this was kind of a one-piece deal. This whole upper fender rail would be sold as one piece by the dealer. That did not turn out to be the case. So I got to looking, and while we should, I guess, by the book, replace this, being that it has a little bit of damage, it is huge. It goes up here behind the A-pillar frame, which is basically one giant piece that runs all the way to the back of the car. This, in all likelihood, will be even more complex than the piece we just cut off of it. And given that it has the structural integrity of a wet napkin, I'm thinking that we just, I don't know, brute force it back into place. All right, be honest with me, Tim. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a body guy do I look like right now?
Right now, solid 9.5.
Oh, okay, all right. Actually really did what I wanted it to do. 9.5. Nicest set of $2 pliers you ever used, huh?
Impressive.
I'm not gonna say it's straight, but it's straight-ish. Straight with a millimeter of variance either direction. Now the moment of truth. Does our new panel actually fit? Go under the windshield. Now, for starters, we're just gonna line this up exactly where the old one came off. This is about where we should be on the back end. Again, loosely. And when we're there, wow, our support bar bolts, they line up pretty well perfectly. The top one especially. The bottom one's, I don't know, a little off, but they made this like have such a range of adjustability. I can't help but think the Jeep knew somewhere down the line someone like me was going to be yanking on this thing and trying to replace body parts. Now, while I did go through and finish prepping our new panel for install, we're not going to weld it on just yet. We don't want to make anything permanent until we make sure we have that lower frame rail dead nut straight. Now's about the time where all that theory is out the window. We're about to find out if we did this right or not. My plan here is to install the subframe via the 3 mounting points that we do have intact, and then we'll be able to kind of use that 4th mounting position to aid us in guiding in and mounting the frame rail that we're putting on the truck. So we're not going to tighten it all the way down. We do want a little maneuverability. So, I mean, I guess we're about there, Fernando. We got to stop stalling. It's time to throw the frame rail on. You know, sometimes we say moment of truth, and it feels undeserving of the term moment of truth. This one, however, does not.
Whoa.
No, that was a good thing. That was a good thing.
Yes.
That was a good thing.
Look at that.
I'll see where we're at here.
It's getting there.
So that is more or less how this is going to sit. Question is, where does that leave us on the rest of it?
That looks pretty good.
This does, but there's a lot more to it than that. Okay, I mean, this isn't saying much because there is a lot of play here, but it's in the hole.
That's what she said.
We at least have it set in place. Now we can, you know, fine tune it. This is about where this needs to be. We set it a lot looser on the inside though, so we can try to run, I don't know, some type of backing plate. We say we take a measurement here, see how bad we jack this whole thing up.
I don't know, but for some reason, I got good expectations.
Thanks, appreciate that. So on the lower front horn bolts, we need to be 862.5 millimeters apart. There is a 0% chance we've nailed this off the jump. Let's hope we're close. Actually, we are really close. It could certainly be further off, certainly be worse. Let's see. Luckily, all we need to do here, a little tug, right in, check that out. There we are.
Wow.
All right, so that's our first measurement down. This one feels like it is, I mean, a 1/2 of a millimeter out. It's still really, really good though. And now that we have that other one dead nut straight, I don't know, do we even worry about a 1/2 millimeter on something like this? Or is that going to be a battle that we just keep fighting and it never really gets any better? I don't know how good of a gauge something like this truly is, given that this was produced at one time, this one another. Maybe the heights and metal are a little bit different. But with that pretty much perfect and our crossed measurements on the front frame arm spot on, I think we'll just roll with it, start bolting up everything else, and see if it's something that needs to be addressed later. So we're gonna try to lock these guys in place with the front bumper beam.
If this fit, we're actually good, right?
Not necessarily, because look at all the play in this front bumper beam. They made these things real sloppy, so it's definitely gonna fit. It doesn't necessarily mean we're good, but it will at least keep these frame rails exactly how we have them right now on the front side. So we're still dead on in the center and the head of the bolts. I'm okay to call this good. It's locked in place. We've got that. We've got the backside kind of locked. We've got the subframe locked. Now, I guess we got to go up top again. Just by the off chance that we do get this to fit right, I don't really see a need to take it back off. So we're going to go ahead and put all our weld-through primer on. And yes, I know I just spray painted the windshield. It's broken. We got to replace it, all right? Don't come after me in the comments for that one. Should fit right up. I have high confidence in this one, being that it fit up before at least before we had this actual bar here. We'll get right in. Now that doesn't necessarily mean things are perfect. I'm gonna get this tightened down, see how it fits on the back. Yeah, we're actually a good bit off in the back. I can fit my thumb in there. It's not really close at all. Everywhere else is pretty solid, just in and out wise. All right, go ahead, break her loose. Oh yeah, now we can slide it up. That's more what we wanted to see. It's crazy what a little hammering will do. I think we can try to fit the rest of the front end, and if it all fits, I guess we can start welding stuff together. Go ahead and pull off the one remaining piece of Trackhawk core support that actually survived. Well, we can slide the new piece in as one giant unit. As I'm getting ready to slap on this new used core support, I noticed something that's a little weird, I guess we'll call it, on our new upper fender brace from Dodge. There's supposed to be holes to mount our core support right there, and right there. There's also supposed to be holes to mount our fender right there and right there. Yet none of those are drilled on this. I can kind of understand the fender bolts. That way you can get your fender mounted where you need to. And they're very self-tapperish type screws. You just run them down through these little pedestals and call it good. But with the core support mounting holes, they are legitimate mounting provisions on this fender bracket. So I guess we're gonna have to get it in there, see if we have access to mark where those holes should be, drill our own and just ram some bolts down through it. Luckily, we do have this flat panel that kind of acts as a stop for the core support. So at least that'll give us some type of reference of where we need to, stop. We did have to pull that front crash bar back off to be able to get this whole front core support assembly on, so let's hope nothing shifted around there. This big rectangular core support assembly, it's got 8 main bolts that hold it on. There's a couple more up top. We're not going to count those because I don't think they do much. There are 4 bolts on each side of the frame rail. 2 go in this way, 2 go in that way. The ones that go in from the front, super simple. They're standard bolts. They go in here, they attach there, no big deal. But the ones that go in from the side, they sit on these weird pedestals. We can get a real good look at it here on this frame rail section that we cut off the Trackhawk. It's a big reverse threaded bolt with a provision for another bolt to go inside of it. As for install though, it's not gonna change much. We'll run these bolts all the way up against the core support, mount it up, call it a day. All right, nothing's changed. We're still golden here. All right, so it actually worked out pretty well. The only thing we weren't able to accomplish is to match this kind of crush pattern they did over on this side from the factory. Frankly, I don't know how we would have done that, but considering everything that could have went wrong here, that should probably be the least of our concerns. Far more important is the fact that at least so far, everything is measured out properly. Everything is as straight gets. Nothing's weird, nothing's wonky. We haven't had to do anything sketchy. I mean, nothing that sketchy, right? At the very least, I can say with full and utter confidence, she ain't going nowhere. Yeah, some of the plug welds might not be the prettiest thing in the world, but they are strong, they're gonna work, and I'm good to call this piece done. Now though, comes the most critical part of this entire build, securing our lower frame rail. I went around and plug welded every single spot weld that we so painstakingly drilled out, but frankly, this was the easy part, outside of some kind of awkward angles. Hardcore! Where things get a bit trickier is this one long weld that really fuses our new frame rail to our old one, and for that, we gotta call in the big dog. Break it down for him. How's this gonna go?
Metal comes out of here. Goes on there. Makes sparks, melts. One panel. Looks like a real welding genius did it, so not
Put
much.
that on a t-shirt, you know?
Yeah, not much more to say.
There's a lot of different times where this whole deal could have went wrong, but now is one of the biggest. I think, at least, that we have everything secured enough that we can pull the subframe and nothing should, tweak back. If I hit this and it goes boink, we're in trouble. That didn't move.
No?
I mean, to be fair, it should never move, so I don't know why I sound so surprised by it. All right, let's find out just how, you know, in place it actually is. 1140 is what we're looking for. Once again, just like on the other chassis, go ahead and set the gauge from the jump.
Are you ready for that?
I'm ready. I'm ready, and I feel good about it, honestly. One. You ready? Oh! All right. Professional, right? Even Tim admits it.
Somewhat pro.
Semi-amateur. We got one more here, 928 millimeters. This one is a little wonky, not because the frame rail is off at all, at least I think, but because we're fighting with this radiator support now. It's kind of making us put this at a weird angle. Either way, it was this close. As far as measurements go, I'm calling this a massive, huge, colossal W. Is that enough? You got any other descriptors?
Well, I was just about to say that's a lot of descriptors, but nah, I'm drawing blank.
With the frame rail seemingly in the right place, it's time to lock it all down and weld up the inside of the frame rail. And for this, rather than just weld the two pieces of rail together, we decided to make a plate that would overlap the frame rail, with the idea being it might have a little more structural integrity.
Now, I know what you're all thinking. Everybody and their mother can see clear as day that this frame was sectioned in right here. And sure, if we would have went the route where we replaced it all the way down under the floor, maybe we could have got away without that. We debated for quite some time whether we should try to make this as stealthy and OEM looking as possible or as strong as possible. And when those are your two options, I feel like this is the only option, right? I guess we'll see. First speed bump when it's, you know. And I know I just went on this whole rant about how we're not that worried about aesthetics and it's all about strength. But there is one bit of aesthetics that I'm very excited for, and that is to outfit this front end and make it look like a Trackhawk again.
Hopefully all the gaps, you know, are pretty good.
That's a whole nother deal here that we haven't even begun to explore. Let's just, yeah, I guess fingers crossed, right?
Man, look at that. Way better than I thought.
Honestly, yeah, it's pretty good. To be fair, lining up one panel with a door, that's easy. Then we have to make the hood and the bumper fit as well. With this panel, that's a bit more tricky. Headlight in, which we definitely, most certainly, do not need for paint, but hey, I want to see this thing looking like a real car, so we're going to put them in. All right. You know, this is going smooth. I had high-ish expectations, but it's always nice to see that, you know, pan out in real life. Rather than fighting with our fender flares, when we go to put that front bumper on, might as well go ahead and take it off, being that we don't need it anyway. After all, who needs those little baby flares when we have those big, gaudy, wide-body ones we're about to stick on? Cool. For as big and goofy as these cars are, I do have to admit, the whole front bumper install, pretty easily. There's not that many clips on it. So we didn't tighten the hood all the way, just to give it a little play here. Okay. This don't look too bad. I've been saying that a lot here.
Could be worse.
Ready?
No.
Of all the things to not be ready for, I mean, this one. All right. I will take it. I will take it. There's still a little bit of adjustment to be done here, of course. I mean, we don't have to get it perfect until we get the thing painted and it's really ready for final assembly. But as far as a test fit, this legitimately could not have went better. It really couldn't have. That guy with the cigarettes doing the Porsches, Kieran Akai, better watch out, right? Coming for his job in the Mopar market. I still consider us very, very lucky to have even got these front bumper pieces, considering the shape the front bumper was in when it showed up to the shop. Passenger side one, this one's in pretty much perfect shape. And obviously, just so we're all on the same page here, we're just fitting this up for fitting its up's sake. We're fitting it up for fitting it up's sake. we're not towing it to the body shop with all this. It'll be scattered all over the highway. Now, while we did get the driver's side one, it still has a bit of damage. We weren't able to source a replacement one of these, so we're gonna leave it up to the body shop to repair this one and attach it to the car. Final thing we need to accomplish before we can wrap this puppy up and send it up to the body shop is make it roll. Meaning, we have to fix this rear suspension and add suspension to the front of the car. Last video, we saw all the obvious issues with this rear suspension. Clearly, this arm here is supposed to be straight. It's not supposed to do that. We knew we had to replace that. But once we got a little further into it, we saw that that wheel had actually hit our strut, bashed into it to the top there. Now, I don't know necessarily if it's bent, but we have one off the SRT. I mean, why not use it to be safe? Not good? Good. This is about where our wheel was. Go ahead and remove the rest of our factory suspension. Now, what do you think, Fernando? This one probably could have been used. I don't know if this one's damaged, but we know for sure that this one off the SRT is good. So I guess just like some of those rear suspension parts, you should probably just swap it out just to be safe. On another note, I can say with 100% certainty that the driver's side would not be able to be used. This, yeah, not gonna cut it. The only little change we gotta make here is swap over our I-back special lowering springs. Can't have this thing, sit like a 4x4. Ironically, like a Jeep probably should. Slide our I-back on to our new used strut. Now go ahead and slide this whole assembly in. A little more. All right, we're in. Now, Tim's gonna feed us in our steering rack. In one side, out the other. Now, a question for a real mechanic that's actually worked in this kind of setting. Tim, earlier I said I suspect that it would suck to take this out of here with an engine and a front diff in here. Do you concur?
Probably engine out.
That's wild to me.
There's a lot of engine out stuff these days. The guys that build the cars don't think about the guys that work on the cars.
Fucking engineers, man. For the time being, we're gonna put these very heavy SRT wheels on. We do have a pretty sick set of wheels on the way for this car. They're not here yet. Even if they were, we certainly wouldn't send the thing to the body shop with them on it.
Is it me? Oh, this crash has been like Sharpie before the accident.
Yeah, I do believe
Right?
actually that there was some major curbing on this, and somebody has either spray canned it or Sharpied it.
That's smoking. That looks
It's like a salt or pepper shaker. That's right, guys. Not only does he build sick turbo kits, he does this. Whatever this is, he does that too.
Dude, lug nuts related.
That didn't feel very good.
I think you got a toxic relationship with lug nuts.
It's this place.
It's a roller, baby. It's not a shell anymore. It's a roller, all right? Honestly, when we started this whole frame job, I don't know what I expected. I didn't expect it to go this smoothly, though. Grand scheme of things, 10 out of 10. Like, couldn't have went better. Really didn't even run into an issue.
Very easy. Way easier than anticipated.
Oh, that's those? Wow. The Trackhawk is officially mobile. And yeah, it kind of sucks. It's about to go sit at the body shop for a month, but we got something to make up for that. Adios! I think I'm probably about the best body guy on the planet.
Nah, right.
Top 5.
Get it.
And I'm not 5.
Get it.
I can only say so much dumb shit before I stop believing it, you know?